We're here at the 2018 Farm Progress Show, and I'm with AMVAC and Jim Lappin. And Jim, tell us what you do for the company.
I'm the marketing manager for the corn and soybean portfolio, so I'm responsible for the products we have in our portfolio and making decisions about what kind of solutions we bring forward in the future.
Well, here you have a display to show farmers about the different root masses that you have here and different product levels and whatnot. So I would like you to explain that to me, okay?
So every year we do trials. These are from Iowa State corn trials where we compare our products against some competitive standards and against untreated just to see what level of root protection we're providing growers so we can help quantify if you spend the money on one of our inputs, what kind of return is that potentially giving you on the farm. Okay. So it's not representative of every farm out there, but it's representative of what you may see in a given situation. Okay. So what we have here, this first one is a granular standard. So there are a lot of granular products. We have a portfolio of them out there. And what we're trying to demonstrate here is we launched a product last year called Index. It's a new liquid format product. And all we're demonstrating here is that the liquid and the granular perform at a similar level. Okay, so we see pretty good root mass, pretty good ear size. As we move across, we have a couple of our competitors. We always make sure how we're performing against our competitors. Over here, what you see is essentially an untreated hybrid, right? So it's an untreated refuge hybrid, meaning it had no insect protection at all. And you can see a much smaller root mass. If you look at it, you can see signs of root feeding. You just don't have near the root mass that you do with some of these other plants, and that means if you have dry weather, you're going to get less moisture uptake, you got less nutrient uptake, and you can just look at the ear size difference here. Ultimately, that's going to mean less yield. All right, so that was one trial. Then as you move across, we go into the traded hybrids. So we have a couple of trait packages out there, and unfortunately what we've seen over the last few years is all of the commercial traits that are out there today have some level of resistance. Doesn't mean every year to every field, but most or all those traits have failed somewhere, right? So that means a grower has to be proactive and say, what can I do to protect my root mass in addition to my trait package or in addition to my seed treatment package? So we go out and we take these traits and we apply one of our products. In this case, here's an Index liquid. Here's a Index liquid. So this is the Index liquid on top of a trait package and on top of a seed treatment package. And so this is a good example where here you have no Index, you have a smaller, more compact root system, which means that all the roots are very close to the surface. So if you have ideal moisture conditions, it may not be a big problem, but if you get some drought stress later in the season, that's going to start impacting that plant's ability to weather that drought, versus a much deeper root system that's going to withstand those kind of stresses better later into the season. As we move farther down here, this is our granular product, Aztec. Same thing, Aztec, our HC product, which stands for high concentrate. So we've gone to more concentrated products which allow growers to spend more time planting, less time managing the granular boxes. Our use rates are down to about 1.6 pounds per acre with this product. So if I got a 24-row planter, I load up Aztec HC with my smart boxes, I can go plant 700 acres between fills. So I can focus on planting. But what we're demonstrating here is, again, our products added to your trait packages can give you bigger root mass, ultimately higher yields. Our 10-year average is close to 10 bushels per acre advantage. And the reason we're seeing that advantage is a lot of these trait packages have refuge in a bag, the rib plants. That means 5 to 10% of your plants are unprotected by any trait. And so by adding an insecticide, you're protecting those refuge in a bag plants. You're also protecting against seed-attacking pests, wireworm, grubs, seed corn maggots, a host of pests that can also affect stand. So by elevating your root protection for rootworm, by protecting the refuge in a bag plants, by protecting against seed-attacking pests, ultimately that yields to higher yields.
Well, so what kind of pressure did we see this season as far as the types of insects that you're protecting against here?
Actually, we're in the process. We do our trapping. We trap across the I-80 corridor from Nebraska to northern Indiana. What we're seeing is pressures aren't necessarily higher this year than we've seen in the past. It's still early. So we'll get those numbers coming up here in the next month or so. But what we are seeing, a little shift this year, there's more western rootworm than we're seeing last year. Last year, in first-year corn was a lot of northerns, and in continuous corn was a lot of westerns. Westerns are a little more prolific. But here in Iowa, they've had a particular problem the last few years with northerns overwintering multiple years into first-year corn. So this year it seems like we're catching more westerns in the trap. Westerns are very aggressive. They're very prolific. They lay a lot of eggs. There was a study done by University of Nebraska that essentially a single adult female can lay up to 1,000 eggs, right? If only 5% of those eggs survive, that's an average of 20 rootworm larvae per plant, right? So it doesn't take a lot of high survival numbers to cause problems. So we haven't had a year where we've had high survival for a while. When we get these cooler, wet springs, rootworm larvae like what corn likes. They don't like it too hot. They don't like it too dry. They don't like it too wet. Don't like it too cool. They're the Goldilocks of pests, right? They like what corn roots like. They like good, healthy, good moisture conditions. So when you have those conditions, you're more likely going to have pressure. The other factor is later in the season if you get dry spells. So the hybrids today can do a pretty good job of regenerating root system. So even if you've had some feeding and some damage, they're able to compensate and continue to grow that root system. If you have drier weather later in the season and you already have a reduced root mass, you're just not going to get that root generation, and that's where you're really going to start losing yield.
We got a lot of people here today now at Farm Progress Show, since yesterday was kind of a washout. But what kind of reaction are you getting to farmers when you talk to them about this?
So growers are looking at ways to save money. Growers are looking at what's the input decision I'm making today that's going to give me the maximum return on investment. You know, they're looking at commodity prices and they're trying to say, I need to make sure I'm being efficient and maximizing the yield I can in a given field for a given situation. I think grower attitudes yesterday and again so far today have been pretty optimistic and positive about the crop that's in the field right now. Some discouragement with what's going on with the markets. Everybody would like to see, broader access to world markets. Nobody likes to hear about not seeing the exports that we'd like to see to China. We're competing on a global playing field here. Every year you hear about Brazil putting more acres of soybeans into production. So I think there might be a little bias about a few more corn acres next year. 2018 was kind of a pivot point, was the first time we ever had more soybean acres than corn acres in the Corn Belt. So that's kind of a newsworthy event. And next year, I think the bias might shift a little back to corn, particularly if they do something on the E15 initiative. If they can improve that, that's a 2 billion bushel demand. So in those areas where ethanol plants are prevalent, Dakotas, Minnesota, northern Iowa, I think you might see that little bias back towards corn. But in the interim, it's still anybody's game about what's going to happen in 2019. We know it's going to be different than it was in 2018. So a grower needs to be prepared to be thinking about their insect control strategies, their weed control strategies, and we're talking to them about how they can utilize AMVAC products to maximize those results.
All right, good. So to recap, tell us about the solutions that AMVAC has that are on display here, the Index and Aztec.
Yep. So we have a portfolio of products. We have granular products as well as liquid products. So on our granular insecticides, we have Aztec. We have an HC version of Aztec. We sell Smart Choice, also in an HC version. We sell Counter, which not only does it control rootworms, also controls nematodes, a problem that's prevalent in a lot of areas. We introduce Index as our liquid. For 2019, we're introducing a new version of Force. So we've been selling Force 3G in a smart box container. Syngenta sells it in a bag. So this year, we're launching a 10G HL formulation. HL stands for high load, more concentrated, which means you're going to handle fewer containers. The use rate of 3G was 4.4 pounds per acre. The use rate for the 10G is 1.4 pounds per acre. So I'm loading up my planter. I got my 24 rows. I got 1,200 pounds of material. I'm going to be able to go plant 800 acres before I have to stop and refill those insecticide boxes. So growers have moved to more high-speed, more efficient planters. We want to make sure they spend more time planting, less time handling containers. So both the liquid offer and our granular offers are geared toward doing that. Now, we also have our herbicide, and one thing we've done is we introduced a program called Buy 2, Save 3. So if we have a grower who's using one of our insecticide products and also uses one of our herbicides, Impact or Impact Z, buy 2, save $3. So per acre, an opportunity for a grower to save a little money, and we appreciate their business, and if they're buying more of our products, we're going to reward them for doing so. If the growers have done that this year, this is a great time to put that submission in to us for the rebate for this year before harvest, and we're going to run that program again in 2019.
All right, awesome. Anything else you want to add that I might not have touched on?
Always if a grower's got questions, he can go to the AMVAC.com website, or for offers like Buy 2, Save 3, he can go to AMVACoffers.com and get more answers. Always talk to your authorized retailer, your trusted advisor, and sit down, make a plan for the year, work the plan, and hopefully you'll have great success.
Awesome. Jim, always great to talk to you. We're here at the Farm Progress Show near Boone, Iowa, in the AMVAC tent. I'm Cindy Zimmerman.